Hello, everybody. We are going to be getting started here in just a few minutes. Hello, everybody. Going to be going through some tips over navigating the holidays and also 7 ways that you can honor your loved one and keep their spirit with you. So I will be getting started in just a moment. Hey, Joseph. Hey, Elmer. Just throw in the chat where you're from, and I will be happy to see if I'm familiar with that place. Maybe I've been there. Who knows? How's everybody doing today? And how are you feeling about the holidays? I know the holidays can be tricky. They can feel overwhelming and like all of the things. So we're going to get started in just like 2 minutes here. So pull up a chair, stay a while. And we're going to get started soon. Hi, Bud. Hi, Cookie. Welcome, everyone.
Recording in progress.
Hey, and welcome. I am going to start here in like 2 minutes. So I'll start in about 2 minutes. Hi, Deanne and Mary and Debbie. And we've also got some TikTok people with us that are hanging out and some YouTube people. So good stuff. All right, Mary. I'm going to get started in just 1 more minute. And no PowerPoint today, so you'll just get to look at my face and each other's faces. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. And I'm going to kick us off with a prayer here. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for our time together and really just the ability to learn about navigating this new life after grief and what comfort and peace that you can provide us. And we ask for your guidance and for just your love and your peace to fill our hearts when we know the holidays are a difficult time and people may be hurting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, welcome. So what I'm going to do is go through some overall tips first. Oh, we got Carrie Ann. Karen, I merged your name with Mary Ann. It's now Carrie Ann. So there you go. Karen and Mary Ann together. Welcome, welcome. So, no PowerPoint today. We're just going to look at all the beautiful faces who want to be on camera, which is amazing. So, I'm going to run through just some overall tips for people who are navigating grief through the holidays. And then I'm going to cover 7 ways that you can honor your person and keep their spirit alive. So, we'll go through all of that. And then I'll open it up and we can talk through it. So, the holidays can be really difficult, and for some people this is going to be your first round of holidays, and for other people this may be your 5th year, your 6th year. You might be well into your grief journey, and that sometimes doesn't make it any easier. And one of the things that I really encourage people to do is to give yourself permission to just feel it all. So many times in the past, we have been pressured to be strong or to fill like the traditional role of, oh, I got to make the sides for the holiday, and I got to wrap all the presents, and I got to pick out the music for the games, and I have to do all these things. And we put all of this on ourselves because that's either what we've always done or because we think that's what people expect and what they want. And the reality is that we don't have to take all of that on our shoulders. And also, the reality is that grief and joy can coexist. And so you don't have to feel guilty if you're laughing during breakfast and then crying at dinner time, or if you are grateful for the people that are there with you and sad for your person who isn't there with you. Like, you are allowed to feel it all, and there's no right or wrong way. Like, someone I did a consult with today, she's like, I just want to know if I'm doing it right. And in grief in general, yeah, there are things that you can do that will be helpful. But with the holidays and feeling it all, there's not a cookie cutter answer that's going to work for everyone with feeling all of the things, right? What I do recommend to people is that you have a plan. Okay. It doesn't matter what your plan is. Maybe, have you guys ever heard of or read the book or seen the movie Christmas with the Cranks, where it's like they're tired of the holidays, they're going to go on a cruise, they're just going to escape Christmas and just not celebrate it? It's like the same concept. That could be your plan. Maybe you're like, I don't want to deal with the holidays. I don't want to hear the Christmas music. Like, I don't want to be home for the holidays, and you want to go do something else. That's totally fine. If you want to stay at home and not be around other people, that's also totally fine. Okay. When Nathan died, that was in July, and Nathan was an amazing chef. Like, he cooked. He also would use every pot and pan in the kitchen, which is a story for another time. But he was like the most amazing cook. He didn't follow a recipe. He's just like, taste it, throwing more in there like a magician. And it was the most amazing food. Like, even my grandma and people who'd been hosting Thanksgiving for forever, they let him host it. And because he liked good food, he wouldn't let anyone else make the sides. So it was like a big production this Thanksgiving every year. And it was wonderful and amazing. And so when he died in July of 2021, and we're looking at Thanksgiving just a few months later, and also we're looking at someone who hasn't really had to cook for 20 years. And I'm sitting there going, there's no, like, how am I supposed to do all this? Like, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to learn how to make a turkey and to make all these sides and to host all these people and get my house all clean and orderly. Like, there's just no way. And so I remember telling my family, like, I love you guys, but you're going to have to go find somewhere else for Thanksgiving. And I didn't even offer to help them. I was like, you just going to have to figure it out. And they ended up going to my aunt's house, and that ended up being perfectly fine. And we just had a really small Thanksgiving with our family, immediate family, and then Nathan's parents. And so the point is that It doesn't matter what you want your holiday to look like, but having a plan will help you. If you don't have a plan, what I see happen to people all the time is they start doubting themselves. And they wake up on that day and they're like, ugh, I have nowhere to go. No one invited me. I feel so bad for myself. Or they wake up and it's like, oh, I don't know. What am I supposed to do? And what restaurants are open? And why didn't I think about this in advance? Like they really beat themselves up. And if that's you, you don't need to beat yourself up and you don't need to shame yourself. But it just helps to have a plan, whatever the plan is, so that you can know when you wake up and you're at the day, you're at the holiday, that you're like, well, this is what I decided to do. And so maybe your plan is that you want to be home alone, right? And then maybe you wake up on the holiday and you're like, wow, this is really awful. I'm home alone and I people should have invited me, and we can come up, our brain can come up with all of these thoughts. And then we get to remind ourselves, like, well, also, this is what we wanted. We wanted time to just be alone. And like for me, I actually liked being alone. I know I'm probably in the minority, but I didn't want to be around other people. I didn't want to be around, I have a big family. I didn't want to be around all that. I just wanted to be alone as much as I could. So as you're thinking about your plan, don't let other people's expectations decide your holiday. Okay. So you could ask yourself, what feels supportive to me? What would feel gentle? What would feel light and easy? What are some traditions that feel really heavy? What is something that would bring me peace or meaning right now? The goal is just to be intentional rather than to just react and to not feel that you had a plan. And by the way, it's okay to change your mind about your plan, even if it's on the day of, right? Like you could be like, well, I thought I wanted to be home alone and now I don't. So now I'm going to call some people and see if I can come over. And again, that's totally fine. It just helps if you kind of have a plan ahead of time of what you do want it to look like. Another suggestion here is really to embrace what I call the both and, right? Which is like, it's okay to both miss your person and also find beauty in the moment or beauty in the holiday. And so it might be, gosh, I really miss my husband. I miss him every day. I wish he was here. And also, like, wow, I'm so grateful for the people sitting with me right now. I'm so grateful for the people who are with me and that we can laugh and cry together and all of those things. So often in grief, we have this duality that creates a sense of guilt. Like, oh, I shouldn't laugh. It's only been a few months, I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't be happy. I should just be this sad, grieving widow all day. But the reality is, it gets to be both. For me, I had tissues in just like every room of the house, in the kitchen, the dining room. I just had tissues everywhere. And I just kind of normalized, like, hi, hey, we might be laughing, we might be talking, engaging in conversation. And then all of a sudden, tears, just like a torrential rain of tears. And I'm walking over and getting the Kleenexes. And it's like, don't feel bad. Don't tell me you're sorry. Like, this is a normal human physical reaction to what we have been through. Okay. My next tip here is to release the pressure to make it normal. You are most likely not the same person that you were. And this year doesn't have to look like all of the years before. And this year doesn't have to look like all the years to come. So when I talk to people about like creating a new tradition or even looking at traditions you've had in the past and evaluating whether or not you want to keep them, there's also this like in between time, this time of transition where you get to look at the holidays and say, okay, how can I make this quieter or slower or different than it's been in the past? But it doesn't mean that just because I do it this way this year, that that's how it's going to be every year. Like I get to decide. Next year might be different. The year after might be different. And over time, I'll create what I want my new traditions to be. But I don't have to carry this burden and expectation of like, oh, every year for Christmas, we looked at the Christmas lights on Christmas Eve, then we had this big Christmas dinner, then we drove to 4 different houses and we did all of this stuff. Like, instead of chasing normalcy and chasing all of our old traditions, let's intentionally create meaning and what helps support us with where we are right now. Okay. So, my next suggestion here is to simplify the season. So, hosting might feel really heavy, might also be something that you enjoy. So, it's really up to you. But feel free to say no to invitations that drain you, to order dinner instead of feeling like you need to cook everything, to shop online or skip gifts altogether. We want to simplify and we want to do less as much as possible, especially in those early days of grief. And like what I shared yesterday of like the first step or the first thing that we want to do is when we're in grief is to actually slow down and to do less and to lower the expectations that we have for ourselves versus feeling like, oh, I always make the dressing. Like it's always me. I've got to make the dressing. People aren't going to understand. Like they have to have my dressing. And it's like, well, no, actually they don't. It'll be fine. It'll be okay. You also could start a new tradition. Okay. So you could have a small change that creates new hope. You might decide to go somewhere new for the holidays. You might decide to take a trip. You might decide to volunteer or sponsor at a place that is meaningful to you. You might also decide to do things like write a letter to your person and keep it, in a place that you write a letter to them every Christmas or every Thanksgiving and put that in there. But it's okay to start new traditions. And even if you think that, well, if he was here, we never would have done this or that, like, it's okay. You get to test out new traditions and try them. And again, just because you do it this year doesn't mean it has to be like that every year. This is something you're testing out. All right, my next tip here is to build a support squad. Yes. And this could be one or two trusted people that know that you need some extra love over the holidays or anniversaries or those days that are important to you. And maybe it's because you tell them in advance, like, hey, can you put this day on the calendar and just check in with me? It's going to be really hard. Or maybe they know, like, if you text them and say, oh, today's a really hard day, they know they need to check in or stop by or reach out to you. Or maybe they know that they're going with you to a holiday event and they're like checking the eye, checking the nonverbal body language and communication to make sure that you're okay, or to take you home early if things aren't going well, or whatever it is. Like you have one or two trusted people who are like your support squad, like your people who are going to help take care of you. And I know that you shouldn't have to do this. You shouldn't have to find people to support you and help you. You should just have all the people who want to surround you with love and support and show up and just know exactly what you need. I know that it isn't fair. It's not right. It's hurtful. I get that. And also, unless someone has been through a major loss or trauma or event like this, they often don't know how to help you and support you and show up. Just like for me, I didn't know. When I was working in healthcare, I had employees who lost members of their family and they got 3 days for bereavement leave. And then you just kind of expected them to be normal after that, right? Like, oh, you've had your time, you've had your grief. I'm sure you still miss them. And also, there's work to do. And looking back, I'm just like, oh my gosh, how, it's not like I thought they were perfectly healed, but I also didn't go out of my way to be like, man, I'm really thinking about you. Like, this has to be really hard. Like, I know some of those people didn't feel seen and cared for. And so I know that now. I know what I could do differently now. So I can have grace with people around me now in the fact that they don't know how to show up for me or how I would have wanted them to. And so I can advocate for myself and make that connection, tell them what I need, ask them for their support and what that looks like. And that can be helpful. Scheduling pockets of rest. So, grief is physically exhausting, and there are a lot of reasons for that. That's one of the things we cover up front in the academy. So some of you have gone through it, some of you are about to go through learning about the brain and the nervous system and why you're just physically exhausted, like you've run a marathon all day every day. And so, with the holidays or major milestones, that can bring up, again, a lot more of the grief. It can bring up more of that physical exhaustion. So, scheduling these moments or these pockets of rest or downtime or ways that you can excuse yourself if you go to an event and you decide, like, oh, I really don't want to be here. Like, just having a plan and having extra time to find rest, to find moments where you have just free time, where you can just have a little downtime is really helpful. That might include like scheduling yourself some walks. It might be if there's a lot of gatherings going on throughout the week that you have like days in between where you have nothing planned. It might be feeling like you can go to bed early when it's an emotionally heavy day. Like, again, just as much rest and gentleness as you can create for yourself. Not only is it helpful for you in navigating the holidays, but also over time, it's helping your nervous system to start calming back down from the grief that you've experienced. Okay, my next tip is to anchor yourself spiritually. And I know that there are some of us who are wrestling with God, who are angry with God, who are unsure. Like, I thought I could trust you. Now I'm not sure. Or I feel like there's a big distance between us. And so my approach is not to have the rose colored glasses that, like, oh, God is great and everything's great. And, I shouldn't have these conflicting feelings. My approach is more of having those honest conversations with God and telling him exactly how you feel, with the end result being of, I want to have a good relationship with you, but I just don't know how to get there. Like, I'm on the other side of this chasm and I need you to help me. Psalms 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. And the Psalms are full of full of many verses of a broken heart and a crushed spirit. And Psalms is really good. Job is really good as well. And we did a live event not too long ago where we talked about like when the world just doesn't make sense and there's a lot of suffering, and there's some good Bible verse references in there too. Okay. The one last tip that the last one that I'll share before I get into the ways of honoring your loved one is one I hadn't thought about until maybe a year or two ago, is doing like a gift wrapping party. So if you maybe you have children and you would like someone to take your children shopping to get you a Christmas present, that's one idea if you still have kids at home. If you have presents to wrap, it would be you could ask someone to help you wrap presents, or you could get together with some other peeps, some other widows, some other grievers, some people who are at home solo, and just be like, let's have a gift wrap party. And everybody bring their presents and everybody bring all their boxes and bags and everything. And we're just together gonna wrap all these gifts together. Just anything like that can help you feel a sense that you're not alone when you're doing an activity that maybe normally you'd be doing it alone, like wrapping presents or filling stockings or whatever that is. Okay, so now I want to go through 7 ways that you can honor your loved one and keep their spirit alive during the holidays or also anytime throughout the year. And yeah, so we're going to roll through those. So the first one is like the category I would put it under is a keepsake. So a keepsake is something that is theirs that you wear or that you have had repurposed. Like Nathan was a big watch collector. Like he probably had, I don't know, 20 something watches that he had in rotation. And I never really cared about watches much. But after he died, I found that I enjoyed wearing his watch a lot. And it just made me feel closer to him and it reminded me of him. And also, he had really big fingers, so I couldn't really wear his ring or anything like that. So the watch I had resized and I enjoyed that. But it could be a ring, it could be a shirt, it could be jewelry that you've had made out of their handwriting or their fingerprints or their hair or their ashes or any of those things. It could be that you want to frame something that they've written or that they've drawn, and you would just like to have that out around you. It could be a shadow box of items that they loved, a blanket or a quilt or a pillow or a teddy bear. I've heard of all kinds of things made from their actual clothes, which is really cool. So I still have some of Nathan's clothes, and my goal, I would like to have some teddy bears made for hopefully future grandkids at some point. Like I think that's really cool. I see people make ornaments. I see them make all kinds of things out of clothes. But that's kind of a nice thing to have around where you have something that you're using that also is made out of some of their clothes. And if you're in Brave Widow or you're in the academy, there's actually a whole workbook with like 50 plus ideas of things that you could do. There's a course, I'll send it out to you, but there's a course called like Ways to Honor Your Loved One. And it's just a PDF that you can download that has all these ideas in here. And it's not meant to overwhelm you with like, oh, you should do all of these ideas, but it's more so for you to have enough ideas that you can find one or two that really resonate with you that you're like, oh yeah, I really like this. Okay, so keepsakes was our first one. Our second one is living out their legacy. And so this could be serving other people in a way that your person served them. It could be fulfilling their specialty. So if they were a great cook, maybe you cook a meal. If they, Nathan was a comedian. And so, sometimes I'll tell some jokes that he used to tell, or I'll do like an impression that's really awful, but one that maybe he would do. You could lean into something special they saw about you. So maybe they told you that you were good at something or they really appreciated something about you. You could really lean into that, and that would be helping to live out like the legacy that you had together. I shared with you that Nathan was an amazing cook, and he was. And probably the first year or so, I was like really terrible. And the crock pot was my friend. And now I'm like, okay, I'm an okay cook. But because he loved to cook for people, and his mom does as well, then I do sometimes really enjoy making something like really nice or making it extra special as a meal and serving it to other people and just really taking the time to think about like how he would have done it, not how he would have cooked it because I never would have been able to replicate that, but like how he would have presented it or how he would have really enjoyed being able to make steaks for people or make a brisket or something like that. Those are ways that I try to do things that he was really known for, really good at. Okay, the third way that you can keep their spirit alive is by giving back. So, this could be volunteering, donating, joining a group, leading a movement. Maybe there was a particular cause that they supported and you want to support that. Maybe you want to start a campaign of sending handwritten thank you cards to other people. Maybe you want to lead a support group or a craft group, or you want to donate to a nonprofit organization. But if there's something that you want to do to give back to something that they cared about, you can do that. I enjoy surprising other widows when I can with cards or reminders or messages or little gifts here and there, or on those days that I know is really hard for them because widows so often feel unseen, forgotten, abandoned. And so I enjoy doing those little things for other widows. Probably things that I wish people had done more for me, but I do that out of thinking about Nathan and, what can I do to make a positive impact because of the love that I had for him. Shelly says, I'm going to miss his delicious spaghetti. I mean, now I just want to eat spaghetti. So, yeah, Shelly, thank you for that. Nathan had a lot of good things, but he was a big steak eater. He loved steaks and Italian food. Okay, so our next category here is travel. So you could think about this many different ways. One would be traveling to some of your favorite places that you enjoyed or that they enjoyed, or even exploring new ones. And so, what I always like about travel is I feel like my problems are a lot smaller when I travel, like when I'm on the plane and I'm like looking down at the world below me and like all the tiny little people and the cars. And I'm just looking down and I'm like, wow, from up here, my problems in life just seem really small. Like it just kind of gives you a new perspective and time to just think about life in general. Um, when when Nathan died, it was right before our 20th anniversary. And so on our 21st, what would have been our 21st wedding anniversary, I took our kiddos to St. Augustine, Florida. And that was one of his most favorite places, which, funnily enough, the only reason we ever visited historic St. Augustine is because he liked pirates. And I Googled, like, what place in the United States has the most pirate stuff? And St. Augustine, Florida came up. And so we went there, but he ended up just falling in love with it. We went back 3 or 4 times. And so I took our 4 kids, we went down on what would have been our 21st wedding anniversary. And they'd never even flown on a plane before. Um, and so it was really bittersweet. And it brought back a lot of memories and a lot of things that we did. But also, it was really nice because I got to tell the kids, like, oh, this was your dad's like favorite place to eat. And look, here's the pirate museum that he was talking about. And look, here's like the oldest fort in the country. And, just all the different touristy things that are there. It was really awesome to be able to share that with them. And then they got to see a different perspective of their dad and learn some more stories and things about him. So overall, it was really good. And I also think about travel in like, there have been many places I've traveled to after Nathan died that he would have hated. And it's funny because I would go to places like, he loved he loved British culture for whatever reason. He loved the accent. He loved how fancy things were. He loved the historical buildings and all that. But we never had gone to Europe before. And so um, one year I traveled to England and went to some different places over there. And I remember at first I was really sad and I was like, oh, he would have wanted to be here. He would have really just enjoyed the opportunity of this trip. And he always like loved everything about the castles and the architecture and old buildings. And I'm just so sad because he's not here. And then it was like halfway through the trip, I had to sit back and go, wait a minute. First of all, there's like no air conditioning, in case you didn't know. Your hotel might have some, but pretty much air conditioning, no. It was insanely crowded in London, and Nathan hated crowds. And there were all these other things where I was like, yeah, he wouldn't like this, 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 or this. And so it was kind of this embracing the both and, right? Of like, oh, he would have loved to see it, but also he probably would have been miserable here. So I am a little bit grateful that I'm not hearing him complain while we're here and I can just enjoy it for me. Like embracing all the emotions, right? Some other fun things that you can do with travel, or some meaningful things is some people like to paint rocks and like hide them different places of the world. Some people like to take their loved ones' ashes and spread them in different beautiful places. And some people like to revisit some of the places that they used to enjoy going to together. All right, our next one. This is one of my favorites, no pun intended, because this category is called favorites, but it really is one of mine. And this is where you appreciate some of their and like indulge in some of their favorite things, whether it's their favorite hobby, their favorite food, their favorite movies, whatever it is. So you could engage in one of their favorite hobbies. So Nathan liked shooting guns. I don't know if I could say that on TikTok, but he liked to do that. He liked to golf. He liked the watches. He liked some of these other things. And so I started participating in some of those hobbies. And of course, there was a little bit of guilt for me that I really did not indulge him much when we were married to do that because I had little interest. But it was fun to do it because it made me feel closer to him. You could have a movie marathon with like all of their favorite movies. You could create a playlist of their favorite songs. You could wear their favorite scent, or I know a lot of times people like spray their shirt with their cologne, something like that. You could play their favorite game. Maybe it was a board game, video game, whatever that is. You could finish a project they left undone, and God above knows Nathan left many undone. So I got to do that. You could design like a shirt or something with their favorite sayings or like their isms, right? Like what were the things they said all the time, and just really enjoy their favorite, some of their favorite things. And so one of the things that I did, let me make sure I'm not going to be talking about this later. Okay. So one of the things that I do each year is I still make up Nathan a stocking, and I put it, with all the other stockings, and I still fill it with like some of his favorite candy, treats, whatever. And so then it feels like he's still there as like part of the family and part of the group. And then also on Christmas Day, as a bonus, I just get to enjoy some of the candy that he liked. And I get like 2 stockings basically. So yeah, that can be a fun way of keeping them, involved or as part of the family. Okay, so our next one here is to take action, and so this could be starting a new tradition. It could be planting a tree in their memory. It could be doing random acts of kindness. So I know for some people on the anniversary of their loved one's death, they will like go to a bakery and pay for all the birthday cakes that day. or they will pay for somebody's coffee who's in line behind them, or just different acts of kindness in the name of their person. You could start a journal or a blog or write about them and write about the times that you had together. You could change up some of the decorations in your home that includes their favorite colors or some of the things that they enjoyed. Um, and you could even dedicate a specific event for your person, those types of things. So then we have our next category here is memorials, like things around memorials. And so one of my favorite things that we did was Nathan died 3 weeks prior to our 20th wedding anniversary. And if you've heard my story, you know I ordered the t-shirt like, oh, married to my best friend for 20 years, Nathan and Emily. And I decided to go ahead and still have some family and friends over on that weekend that we had planned to celebrate. And I remember asking my counselor, like, what can we do? Like, I don't want it to be too sad, but I do feel like the whole point of them coming was to acknowledge our marriage and to, honor that. But I also don't want it to be like a second funeral because it's just 3 weeks later. And so she gave me this suggestion that she had read about with candles. And she's like, Nathan was such a larger than life personality. She had known him as well. And she's like, maybe you do glow sticks instead of candles, like different color glow sticks. And I was like, oh, okay. And so basically what we did is right when it was sunset, we had everybody come outside and we passed out a bunch of glow sticks and we all went around the circle. And when people would speak, they would crack the glow stick, shake it up, throw it out in the middle of the circle in the yard. And they would share like a funny story or a memory, or even if it was just one word that reminded them of Nathan. And so, you're laughing, you're crying, you're just thinking back about all the times. And we go around the circle a couple of times. And then we had all the kids go to the middle and they rearranged all these now lit up glow sticks in the shape of a heart. And then we just had a moment of silence where we all just kind of stood back and we were looking at like this illuminated heart made of glow sticks that represented stories and memories and like all of the love that we had shared as family and friends that really centered around Nathan. And it was just like the perfect thing she could have suggested for us to do. And so if you're looking for an idea of something to do, that's still to this day probably my favorite thing that we ended up doing. Also, some other ideas around memorials is you could ask people to share memories and put them in like a jar or like a memory jar for you to read later. You could create, remember how they used to do like time capsules and they like bury them in the ground? You could do like a memory capsule with some of their favorite things or some memories that you have. You could ask people to write memories on a slip of paper and then loop them together and string them up to create like a memory chain that you could hang up on the wall, which would be cool. You have things like a memorial bench. You could do a butterfly release. You could set up a Facebook page or a website that's a memorial to them. Some people get a tattoo of something of their loved ones. There are a lot of things that you could do around overall memorials. And lastly, the last category here is events. And so, especially as we're thinking about the holidays and family events and get togethers, here are some ideas of things that you can do. So, I already mentioned the stocking. I did get ahead of myself. I mentioned the stocking already. That's one that you could do. You could also reserve them an empty chair at your table. And if you guys have watched any of the Charlie Kirk things, I think the first few episodes of their show, like they had his chair still at the table and it was empty. And it was like everybody knew that was Charlie's chair, right? So everybody could know that's your person's chair. You could even put their picture in a frame and set it like where their place would be on the table. Or if you're going out to eat by yourself, I've known several people that have taken a picture frame with a picture of their loved one and set it on the table across from them and had dinner that way. There is a company, and I'm going to double check because it's been a while since I've looked at their website, but I had them on the podcast or on an event that we did early on. And I think they still do this, but it's called Grief Box. And let me just double check they still do this. I think they still do this. Don't quote me on this. But essentially, they would make these like centerpiece wreaths that had a candle in there, and then you could get one with like a picture frame on it. And so, if you wanted to, it was like a really beautiful centerpiece type thing that you could set in front of the chair of wherever that person was sitting and like light the candle, and then it would have their picture on there as well. So, like, I thought that was a really nice gift. And if they no longer do that, then I'm sure that you could create your own. But I thought that was like a really cool way of like reserving the seat at the table and remembering them. You could throw them a birthday party if you wanted to do that, if their birthday's around that time. You could write memories on or put them inside of your Christmas ornaments. You could create a scavenger hunt for people to go find memories that you've written and hidden around your house and different things. You could make a table runner that has different photos of them and different photos of the two of you together. And then we talked about the gift wrapping party idea as well. So lots of ideas. Again, for my tribe, my Brave Widow peeps, I'll send out the PDF download in case you want to do that. And there will be some space in that workbook for you to just jot down your ideas of what you'd like to do in the future. And again, this isn't at all to say you have to do all of these or you do a bunch of these, but even if you could just find one or two that resonate with you, then my job is done. So again, our categories are keepsakes, living out their legacy, giving back, traveling, their favorites, taking action, and memorials and events I'd really had combined. So that's seven ways that you can honor your loved one and keep their spirit with you during the holidays. So, all right, for my folks in the Zoom room, I'll just open it up. If you guys, want to add anything that maybe ideas or things that you have done that you found really comforting or helpful during the holidays, whether it's lowering the expectations on yourself, whether it's something really meaningful that was helpful to you. But yeah, I would love to hear it. And I know others would as well.
Well, oh, go ahead. Um, my husband had this saying, to be or not to be, and it's Shakespeare's soliloquy. And but it just came up to me right now. And would you do like a t-shirt? I was thinking a mug, but not all my kids drink tea, and some of the grandkids are too little. You think a t-shirt would be good?
Yeah, I think you could do a t-shirt. And I think even if you do a mug, mugs make a good pencil holder, for people that don't utilize them. But to your point with the kiddos, if you go to I can send you the website like vistaprint.com or one of those like customizable type websites. There'll be tons of options of things that you could do. But I think a comfy t-shirt would be nice. Yeah.
You can do ball caps too.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Kids, the kids that like to wear ball caps.
I like what you said, making ornaments out of their clothes. And my husband had a lot of tartan plaid shirts. And we had a friend who died, and his wife let us loose in his closet. That's when Ben was bigger. And so he's got a lot of plaid shirts that were his, but Ben wore them. And so I thought, well, since Ralph Lauren Christmas is all the rage this year, finally back to traditional, no more orange and pink and all those funny colors. That would be kind of fun is to make ornaments and, or even table runners or things like that out of his shirts. That would be cool.